Well, hello, I'm Chris, and this is my how to paint your front door with a conventional spray gun video. So we're going to figure out how to spray this acrylic latex paint through a conventional type spray gun. Now this is a general purpose $129 gun I got from Home Depot. Now the general purpose guns are going to be more oriented around spraying other stuff than just automotive finishes. Automotive paint is sprayed super thin. This is a general purpose gun. It can spray Rust-Oleum very well, so we're going to use it on this project. This is your typical gravity fed gun. We are spraying through a 1.4 fluid nozzle. So it doesn't matter if you're spraying a wood door, fiberglass door, or a steel door. These steel doors are light gauge steel that's stamped out. It's sprayed with either an epoxy or an etched primer. This one has some kind of green primer under it. Then over that green epoxy, they spray this white primer, which I believe is a latex primer. And that allows you to spray your 100% acrylic latex. So to prep the door for paint, you need to scuff the surface or abrade it, kind of roughen it up. You could do that with some Scotch-Brite. You don't want to really use sandpaper because you can bleed through on these edges right here if you have this type of door. This is all you need. Spend a good 10 minutes on the whole door, get in every single little groove. And then what I do on these doors is get a little brush with some bleach soap and just kind of scrub everything in there real good. And just wipe it off with a wet rag. So if you go through metal anywhere, you can get some primer like this and just kind of dust it over. Don't try to put a heavy coat, and just kind of cover any exposed metal if you have a steel door. So you will be needing a mixing cup with these kind of numbers on here. We're allowed to do about 4 to 1, but we're going to do 8 to 1. 8 parts paint, 1 part flood. So this is the color I'm going with. It's a regatta blue. It's a semi-gloss. When you're doing your front door, it's very tempting, and you might think that a high gloss is what you want, but I'm telling you right now, you do not want a high gloss unless you know for a fact, and you've already seen it in real life, you know that's what you want. Avoid high gloss front doors, especially if you're going to brush it on. You might get away with spraying it like this. I would never in a million years paint my front door high gloss. That's all I got to say on that. Anytime you use latex paints, you have to shake them up real good. This one's been sitting for about 2 weeks, so we need to get a stick, and we need to go to the bottom and remove any type of clumps. Anything we can get out with this stick, we need to do it. Okay, so you need to go down all the way to the bottom, scrape the bottom all around, and you need to do this for about 10 minutes on a new can. You see how thick this is? So I changed my mind. I'm going to run it 6 to 1. So we're going to fill it up to the 2 right there with paint, and then we're going to add the flood and fill it up to the next 2. And people seem to get triggered when you say that flood is a thinner, but look at that. It thinned the paint out. Okay, so you are allowed to put some water in there, so I'm just going to put 2 little caps in there. Just keep track of anything that you do to it. 2, that's all the water that we can use. Pull the trigger all the way down. We're going to set it on 30 psi. That's a good starting point. Okay, your gun has a fan control. We're going to put the fan control all the way open. If you close it, you'll feel the air like a little circle, and when you open it all the way, it'll blow it out like a big fan. So we're going to open the fan control all the way to start. Just make sure that when you pull the trigger all the way down, you got consistent 30 psi. Before we put that paint in that gun, we need to wipe this door down, get any dirt, grease, or oil off of it. Now, you need to be very careful if you're using a primer door, because some of them are primer with latex primer, and the mineral spirits will take it right off. So just be careful, do little tests. We're going to use denatured alcohol on this latex prime door. You can use a tack rag. We're just going to blow it off with the compressed air. Make sure it's clean. Spray guns are going to have some type of little strainer that goes in. Put that in first. Anytime you put paint into a spray gun, you need to strain it every time. So this paint is still very thick. We may need to take it all back out and thin it more. So when you're about to paint something, you cannot just start painting this door. We need to test it out on something very similar to the door and get our spray pattern. Okay, so what just happened was the paint is too thick to spray. I just went ahead and sprayed it thick. So we're going to let this dry for an hour, and hopefully that flood is going to allow that texture to flatten out. That's what happens when you spray thick. That's why you don't want to do it, because you get a textured finish like that. I'm actually really happy that I sprayed it that thick and found out that it would lay out this flat. Now that was a first coat. We had some body work right here. We do have some issues right there. And this is not a new door. This is a 7-year-old door. It has some imperfections. You see some dents right there. So that's our first coat. You generally want to put 2 coats when you go with a dark color like that. So we got a real good first coat, but we sprayed that super thick. So we're just going to do what we have to do. Thin this out till we get a little bit better. That's about as good as we're going to get it without diluting it too much. Since we had a repair right here, you see how the primers are kind of creating a line. So we're going to take our Scotch-Brite and we're going to just scuff anything off that bothers us. Any little rough areas. Just smoothing this door up one more time before the final coat. We're not putting any pressure. We're just trying to even this little transition out. So if you find any little bumps that need to be sanded, you're going to use 400 grit sandpaper. Alright, so I got it scuffed with Scotch-Brite. We sanded it in some places with 400. I'm going to try to put the second coat on upright like this. Probably not a good idea if you're new at this, and I may abandon it and put it flat, but let's see if we can spray it like this. So I didn't feel comfortable letting it dry standing up. The last thing you want are runs inside those little raised panel areas. So let's let this thing dry for an hour and check out the final result. So the door has been drying for 2 hours. Now after this video, I'm going to lay it back down and let it dry for 24 hours. But let's take a look at this. See that nice semi-gloss look? It's exactly what you want. So what's crazy about this is how thick I sprayed that paint and how smooth it laid out using that Flotro. And the point of using the semi-gloss is because it reflects just the right amount of light to make it look neat, but not too much to where we see every imperfection in the door. You can see we have dents right here. I opted out to not repair those because those are marks where people were knocking on the door, and it's most likely they will just make more of those. We're about 7 feet away from the door and you cannot see any dents on it. The truth is it has about 12 little dents. The worst dent is right there. So I am 100% satisfied with these results. It's not a 10 out of 10, maybe a 7 out of 10, but for a DIY guy or girl, get that Flotro, pay attention to this video, and you can achieve the same results that I got. This is 100% passable. Anybody that sees this door will think that a professional painted it. So this door has officially passed the test and it's going to become my new back door. Thanks to that flood, Flotro, go buy you some of that. It doesn't matter what you're spraying it with. Look at those results. Beautiful. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.